Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the very first Takeover Tuesday. This is very exciting. My name is Kennedy. I'm going to be behind the scenes of this little show today. I know you guys were probably expecting Blaine, but it's me today. It's so nice to meet all of you. I have a couple shout outs this morning before we get into it. I saw some familiar names and faces on the screen. So Carol Lombardi, of course, she won our Dream Studio giveaway last week at Hoop Fest, and we love her. She's amazing. So hi, Carol. We have Steve and Norma Kaufman. It's nice to see you guys again. We also have Deanna Burris from North Carolina, and we've got Shirley Burling from Illinois. So welcome, everyone. Let's just get into today. So today we have a very exciting special guest. You might have seen her yesterday on our Monday class with Sew Steady. We have Kate Quinn today coming in and hanging out with us, showing us all of her favorite tips and tricks for ruler work and all things quilting. So we're very excited to have her. I just wanted to let you guys know a few announcements. We do have other shows. If you are just watching for the first time, we have SMP Live every Thursday. You can tune in, and Blaine will be there and showing off all the best machines that we've got. And we have Sew Steady Monday, which we had yesterday. We just do a weekly class with Sew Steady, and it's just a fun time. Everybody can come and hang out, and there's a chance for you to win giveaways at all of these, all of them, even today. Today we're doing some giveaways. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce you to Kate, and she will be on right now. So let's get her on. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hey, everybody. I am the talking hands. Usually, all of my broadcasts are really focused on what you want to focus on, and that is sewing and what the machine is doing. So, yes, I'm here. I'm a real person. But what we'll be seeing is how you can use this amazing machine. Just so everybody knows, the machine I'm working on today is the Janome 9450. And Janome has a lot of amazing different machines. The one that I am using has a special feature called the ruler work setting. And that is one of the most amazing things that I like about it, because I am a ruler girl. That is my favorite thing to do, right? Is quilt with rulers. And so I thought I would just mention Janome. The Janome foot comes with this machine. This is actually the ruler foot that is with this machine. And it has a particular setting that I can go to on my machine. Let's see if we can adjust our camera real quick and just bring you over there.
Before we get started, I just want to ask you, where can everyone find you after this? So what's a good way that they can get to you and your, FabriKated Quilts and all that? Where can they get to you?
So I'm on FabriKatedQuilts.com. That is one of the places you can find me. I'm also on Facebook as FabriKated Quilts. I do a lot of live education on Sew Steady. I usually broadcast Sundays for them at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And I do try to update my schedule both on Facebook and on YouTube so that people know if I'm on or I'm not on. I do a lot of traveling, so I'll be out the next 2 weekends because I will be traveling, but I generally will post that information. And most of my stuff is left up so you can view it after the fact.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away. Everyone's all excited. I'm seeing the comment sections going a little crazy, but I will go ahead and let you take over, and I will come back in a little bit for some giveaways.
All right, so real quick, can you guys see my screen, Kennedy? Can they actually see that okay? So we'll adjust.
Yes.
We'll adjust the camera as we go, right? But this is the 9450 and this is the view screen on mine. So I'll just take it back real quick and show you how we get there. I'm just going to press a few buttons, kind of get us back to the main screen. So right now, the way that this is set up, I can select any of these tabs right here across the top, one of these right here. To find the ruler work setting, I'm going to go ahead and press this t-shirt. And I'm going to scroll over until I get to this quilting, variable zigzag, and RW, which is ruler work. So I'll select that. And then again, I have to page down here on the bottom. There's a little arrow. And there's my ruler work setting. You'll see on the screen it's got two buttons, medium or light. Right now, the fabric that I'm using is a pretty thin batting, right? If I'm going to just test this really quickly, that's not very thick. It's a thin sandwich. So I'm going to press this light button. And once we go back over to the machine, I'll talk about that light or medium, which is basically the foot height. If I need to make any adjustments and fine tune that, I can press that little arrow and open up this screen, which allows me to adjust my tension perfectly right there on the screen and to adjust the height of my foot if I want to. So we'll talk about that in just a second, but that is the ruler work setting. This is available on the 9450. It's also available on the M7, which has a larger throat if that's something that you're interested in. And it's also available on Janui's new flagship, the CM17, which is a combo embroidery and sewing machine. And it has all of the amazing quilting and ruler work features that this one has, plus a lot more. So let's go ahead, let's come back on over to our sewing area. We'll get our camera stabilized real quick. So there is my foot. And when I put my foot in the down position, if I'm going to do ruler work, I'll put this down. I need to be able to move my sandwich freely. If the foot is pushing down so hard on this fabric that I'm like, oh, I can't move, it's so hard. Well, then I can't sew very well, right? I have to move everything. And if the chances are that this is pushing down on it and I'm trying to pull on this with the ruler on it, that's when the ruler and the fabric are going to separate from one another and not give me a good stitch. I'll just put this up here for a visual, right? So it's really important that I can move freely and that foot is not obstructing me. So if you're using one of the westerly feet, and I'll just put these up here real quick just for a good visual. This is the high shank westerly foot. You're going to adjust the height right here on this slider bar. And again, you want that foot to be so low that it is kissing this fabric, but it is not pushing down so hard that you cannot move. And that is something that will cause a lot of problems if your foot is not set at the proper height. This is the low shank foot, just for visual, right? You can see it has a much shorter neck right here. And when I would put a low shank on, my finger could barely fit under the screw, right? On a low shank, the bar that comes down that this connects onto is very, very low. And the reason why we have high shank, low shank, all these different things, different thicknesses of ruler, is because this right here could fit underneath here once the fabric is on. But if I put a thicker ruler underneath my low shank foot, I don't have any room. Right? Once the fabric is on there, I might not be able to move this very well at all. So we have different feet that fit different machines. You're going to want to match that up. If you go into Sewing Machines Plus and you're chatting with their sales employees, they can help you figure out if your machine needs a low shank foot or a high shank foot. And we also have a couple of special feet, and I'll mention those really quickly. The high shank special. If your machine is high shank, that doesn't mean you're special, right? Of course you are special, but this foot is only for straight stitch only machines. And we're talking about high speed straight stitch machines that are modern machines, not a Singer featherweight. Those ones will take the low shank foot, but this one is for those ones that only sew straight and that they sew very fast. So that's the special foot that you'll need for those machines because the spacing from the needle bar down to the center position where the needle comes down is a little different. And if you use the wrong high shank foot, then your needle will not be centered on the foot. So this will be the correct foot for those machines. Some brands do require what we call the medium shank foot. Right, I'll pull this up here. And this has just got a little bit longer neck right here with a little bit more adjustability. So the machines that need that will be indicated on our special chart that helps us figure out which machines go with which. Okay? If you have any questions, you can contact me privately. I won't answer any machine questions today, or you can go into Sewing Machines Plus and their employees can help you figure out what you need. Always make sure that your foot is the correct foot for your machine. That is very important. Okay, so we've addressed two things: the height of the foot when you're sewing and the fact of what foot might you need. We talked just briefly about ruler thickness, and I'm going to go ahead and grab one more tool that we need. And I'm going to show you the difference between these tools. Okay, we mentioned that you have high shank and low shank. These are different thicknesses of templates. This low shank is only 3 millimeters thick, this wide. The high shank is 4.5 millimeters, and the long arm is 6 millimeters or a 1/4 inch thick. When I'm using these, I can use the ones that match. So if I have low shank, I can use that with low shank. If I have high shank, I can use high shank. Remember that we said that clearance is the issue, right? So if I have a low shank ruler, my high shank foot right here has a little bit more clearance than my low shank foot. So I can actually use my low shank foot on my high shank machine. That's useful for people that have two different machines, maybe a low shank and a high shank machine. It's quite possible that you could buy low shank rulers and you could use those for both machines. So that'll be just some little bit of information. If you have some questions about that, you can contact me directly and we'll go ahead and get you all set up on whatever's best for you. The last tip I want to give is, as far as the long arm rulers, the reason that the long arm rulers are so thick, on a long arm, if this is the surface of the machine and this is the foot is moving up and down. You'll see when we sew on this domestic machine that my foot is staying level. It isn't moving up and down. But on the long arm, that hopping foot is lifting up. And the elevation is about 5.5 millimeters. So a 6 millimeter thick ruler cannot go underneath that foot because it will butt up against it. It won't slide under it. If I use one of these other rulers that are skinnier for that purpose, and I try to use these on my long arm, there's a big safety risk. So when you hear, oh, if I use the wrong ruler, it might go underneath my foot, that is a long arm related comment. It is not necessarily true for your domestic sewing machine. What's more likely on your domestic sewing machine is that you might put your ruler into your sewing field. So when you're sewing, you're going to set it right against the foot and visually look at that, and then make sure that your fingers are out of the way, and now you're ready to sew. So we talked a little bit about the setup as far as the machine and setup for the rulers. Let's address one more important topic. Right now, I have my Sew Steady table on. I'll kind of lift this up so that you can see. It fits perfectly right here against the machine. It's a perfect cutout. Then I've got my glider right on top of here. Periodically, I'm going to polish my glider. The reason that I want people to use a glider, I have been in so many classrooms and I have people say, oh, you don't really need that. So what I do at the beginning of class is I don't put the glider on. I let them sew for about 10 minutes without it, and then we put it on. And people cannot believe what a big difference that it makes. It really allows you to move very smoothly, very evenly. And the reason that that is such a big deal for ruler work, I mean, it's a big deal for quilting in general, but for rulers, if the sandwich is trapped against the surface and it is sticking a little bit, that's when the ruler is going to move, because you're trying to hold that ruler and push everything together. But if the fabric sticks, then the ruler can go awry. So this is a very, very big help that was going to reduce fatigue. It's going to make things easier. It helps you make your designs cleaner. And it's really a good system to put these pieces together. If I'm working on just a narrow neck right here of my machine, only this amount of space, then I would constantly have to move my ruler this direction, this way, instead of being able to go any direction that I want. If I don't have this large support, then I cannot sew as freely. So we very much recommend a Sew Steady or a large extension table. I purchased the Sew Steady Junior to use at my mom's house, and I was really disappointed because it doesn't have as much space here in front of the needle. So the minimum size that I recommend if you're working with templates is the 18 by 24 size, which is our large Sew Steady table. I found that I can do pretty much anything I want to do with that size. And we do have the amazing Wish table, which offers a little bit more support in front, as well as a good bit of left and right and front to back additional space. So you can check those out on our website through the shopping page and see what might be a good fit for you. But I really feel like ruler work needs that. It's not just that I'm saying, oh, buy this, buy this, buy this. I use my Sew Steady table every single time. And when I don't have it, I'm a little bit cranky, okay? So real quick, let's check in. Kennedy, can you let me know, are there any things we want to address with this initial setup before we move on? What do you think?
I know one person asked, Kim asked, what do you use to clean it? That was a big question, was what do you use to wipe it, or, or what were you using earlier? Just how do you clean that?
Such a good question. I'm going to go ahead and show you. It's really high tech. Ready? This is what I use. Inexpensive baby wipes with no alcohol. I literally do that. And why do I do that? I don't have the ability when I'm at a show to run to the bathroom and rinse it off and pray that it'll dry before I'm done. That little wipe has very low water and it gets the lint off of it, and then it's going to stick right back again. And then as far as cleaning the top surface, the polish kit actually cleans everything. You're just going to continue wiping until there's no residue, right? You shouldn't be able to feel like anything oily or sticky. Just wipe it until it's clean and dry. And then you'll see right there, like this thing, it just floats on there. It's so easy to use. So those are the two things. Keep your packaging so you can protect your glider. It has a little paper backing that you can keep lint off of it. I definitely keep those and put those in there for travel. So very, very easy to take care of. This one is the grid glider with this larger opening. You can see that my needle is actually centered. I do have to roll this back if I need to change my bobbin. I actually am just going to lift up on this, give me a little bit more lift. I would lift it up like that, do whatever I need to do, and then just gently roll it back under the foot and just pull that thread so it's not getting stuck under there. Smooth it back into place, and then you're ready to sew. Okay, so those are the management things with that. That's true with any of these top load bobbins. If you have a front load, you can just look underneath and do it. We do have ones that are specific to the Bernina BSR table that have the Bernina BSR cutout opening. We also have one that's just ruler work that has no lines. We also have the free motion glider, which is a white sort of a cushioned glider, a little different texture than this. It does not require polishing on the top, and you can clean it the same way. I recommend the white one for those people that have a textured surface. So if you're working on the Sew Steady table, this is a very smooth plastic and this adheres very well. But if you're using a textured extension table, like one of the Janome tables, the white one I think sticks much better to that surface that is a little bit irregular. So also with these are linty, they don't stick well. Make sure they're clean when you're using them. That way they'll stick really well. Anything else, Kennedy?
I think that is it for now, but I will get some more questions over to you.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to some tools, and we can't really demonstrate ruler work unless we have some tools. We're going to showcase two different sets. One of them you saw yesterday, and I didn't realize you guys were going to be focusing on Fun and Fancy yesterday because that's what I was going to do. So I added some other stuff so it'll be fresh for you guys. So let me go ahead and bring the camera out just a little bit so we can see a little more. Fun and Fancy was a book that I wrote, and it uses specific templates in the Westerly line. So I did not create the tools, I just created the designs and the book. We felt like you needed some help. I'm just going to try to open this to a design so you could kind of see it. The way we've set this up is green is your start circle and it represents your foot. And then the template is shown aligned, and then you're going to sew around and stop over here. And then you would move the template to the next position. And these are all lined up on this white line, which would basically be a chalk reference line. So everything is done step by step, and then it showcases designs that you can get. So the Fun and Fancy set has quite a few different pieces. We're going to go ahead and just focus on just a few of them because we don't have a lot of time. This particular piece, this is called the Circles on Quilts 21, and it is big and beautiful and awesome. All these reference lines right here allow you to use the template in different ways. It's got a little key, and all these little white grippies, these are on the back side. If you'll notice right now, you can read the words right here, and this is a pinhole. When we can read the words, that's the front of the template, and all of these white lines are etched in on the back. So then these little grips, in most cases, you want them on that back side. There's a few times when we could switch the ruler, and I'll explain that later. But we'll go ahead and start working with this one and just sew this design in. So you can see how we can work with a pin-driven template. So again, this piece is from the Fun and Fancy set. And let me just grab my fabric. Here we go. Less talking, more sewing, right? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a special tool that I have, and it's called the 8-point crosshair. And I'm going to mark the design right here. I'm going to mark this space. See if I can get it lined right up in the center. I guess I'm not doing a very good job. I should mark it like this, right? That would be so much easier because then I could see that I'm in the center. All right, this is a Choco liner that I have filled with Hancy Iron Off chalk powder. So the powder looks just like this. It's just heat erasable with your iron. So that just makes it a little bit more convenient. I don't have to worry about how to get that chalk off when I'm done. I like the Choco liner for this because it fits right in the channel. So it helps me have a really clean marking right there. Let's go ahead and we'll move that after we make our center dot. So I got a little skinnier marker here that I'm just going to use to make my center dot. All right, so there you go. I got all my lines, very visible, easy to use. And now we can get ready to sew. These templates, any ones that come with a pin, it's just a thumbtack. It's just, you know, something that you might find at Home Depot. There's just a regular thumbtack. And the reason why it's a simple item is because if you lose it, you can go to Home Depot and buy 500 more for really cheap. So then you can still use your tool. I'm going to go ahead and put it through the center first. That marks on the back where the hole is for the center. So then I can put it with it coming up through the bottom. Thanks. I got to bring it close to me, otherwise I can't see it. All right, here we go. Let's put that template on. I'm going to line up this top line right on those reference lines. Okay, and there's an A and a B on this template, and I'm going to start at A, and then I'll just keep on sewing around. Hook it right into that little spot right there, and then I'm going to pull up that bobbin thread so I can control all my threads on the top. One of the unique features about this Janome is it actually has a bobbin pull-up feature called the one stitch off. So what it allows is it'll take one stitch as you're sewing to pick up the bobbin thread, and then it'll keep on doing regular sewing after that. You can turn that feature on and off, but that is a nice convenient feature. When you're working with rulers, always wait until your needle stops moving before you make any adjustments to your position or let go of the template. With this ruler, I'm now rotated it, and now I'm back at A. This particular design is spinning at 90 degrees. So notice here I'm activating these white stable tape grips. And I've got this one here at the top. Those are activated by a little bit of pressure, and then they are gripping that fabric. So they're acting kind of like a glove would be, and they're moving that so that you can definitely move smoothly and keep the ruler in place. At this position, notice that I haven't had to rotate my sandwich at all. One of my favorite features about ruler work is that 360 movement. I don't have to rotate a quilt if I need to sew along. I can just keep it all going oriented the same direction, and I can sew any.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on. I think she's back. Let me get her back on.
Yeah. We always panic when that happens. We're like, oh my gosh, what happened? I'm still here. Just kind of blanked my screen for a little bit. So what I'm going to do at this point, we were oriented this way. And just so you can kind of see the alignment, I'm going to rotate for this last lobe of the design because we're going to connect it here to the end right here. So we have a special tool. It's called the spacing gauge, and it is one of my favorite Sew Steady tools. Mine is the teal one, and this little 1/4 inch finger right here. The way that the ruler works, the needle is in the center of a 1/2 inch foot. So it is a 1/4 inch to the outside edge of the foot on every size of the foot. So when I align over here, I want this little design to be a 1/4 inch away from wherever the foot is right there. And I can use that tool to precisely measure that. In addition, I'm going to just cant this a little bit so you can see the alignment. There is a small white reference line right here on the fabric. And when I use that, that allows me to align that right onto the existing design. And that helps me to make sure that when I get around to my design, I can do a little smushing and make sure that I'm going to end right where I want to. So let's go ahead and sew. Okay, so we're right down at the end. Usually I'll take a few tacking stitches right there, make sure the design is closed. Because we want to show you some different tools, I'm going to go ahead and just come right back up to here, and we're going to use this top spot to put another element into this design. I can always use the ruler to track back if I want to in order to get me to a different spot that I need to be for my design. This is where I can show you this unique key feature right here. If I lift up the tape, mine is just Scotch tape and it has a little folded over tab. I can take this out, and that's going to let me take the whole template off without having to cut my thread. So when you're done, just make sure you put your piece back in. This way. There we go. I think it's upside down. Oh, lay it down, right? Trying to be all fun and fancy, right? There we go. Just get that back on. Make sure you tape it so you don't lose it. But now I can set this aside. I haven't had to cut my thread, and I'm ready to go ahead and stitch right on to the next design. And at this point, since we tack this off with a little extra stitching, I can go ahead and get those threads out of my way as well. All right. So we said that we were going to show 2 different sets. So the other set that I want to show you some cool features are, this is the Flower Power set. This is curated by Sew Steady educator Ann Moore. She's got some beautiful designs that she's done with it. And that's a class that you can also purchase on the Sew Steady University if you'd like to see more of her work. And this has this 6-inch arc. It has a heart border, a little small spinifex. This is a very small circle, a 1/2 inch circle, and an amazing straight edge, which I really love. So if you're looking for some really basic, useful pieces, I think this is really a great set that offers a lot of value. I'm going to go ahead and showcase that 6-inch arc today. So right here, this is the 6-inch arc, and this can be used on either side. If we use this side or this side, it's the same. So I know it looks a little different, but the way to think about it is on this curve, we're sewing on the inside of the shape. And on this part of the ruler, we're sewing on the outside. So even though they look different, they would actually sew the very same curve. Okay, so let's just go ahead and play a little bit. I'm going to take this pin out of here. I do want to keep my grips right in the same spot, and I'm going to push this up so that I can get a 1/4 inch right here. So this is where I'm going to use that same tool that we had before. So let's see if we can make sure that you guys can see. All right, so right here, if this is the end, I can use my spacing gauge right there, and I can push that up on the line until I'm at a 1/4 inch. And then I can just sew right along until I get to that next spot. So I'm activating the grips here, here, and here. When I'm using any template, when you first get it, play with the template a little bit and then decide how you want to hold it. Then you can set the grips right underneath your fingers. That way you're going to have the most effective tack for your way of using that ruler. And that might be different for you than it is for somebody else. So I'm right here at the top right there. And then I can just align for the next one the exact same way. I'm using this center line right here to line up my template. And I'm just going to push it up until I have that 1/4 inch perfect spacing with my spacing gauge. The 6-inch arc is built on a 6-inch circle. It's actually the same arc that you would have with a 6-inch circle, but it has all of these great reference lines so we can use different angles. And the angles on this side are exactly the same as the angles on that other side. So we're using the outside, and then I'm going to show you, we'll do one more round using the inside to make something as well, just so you can see how we can vary it up and the benefit of having those two different sides. When you're sewing, listen to the sound of my machine. People sometimes ask, is my machine regulated? And I tell them, yes, it is. It's regulated by me. I am listening to it. If I can make the machine have the same sound that it has when it is piecing, then I can control my stitch length because I'm just going to keep that same rhythm. I want it to be very rhythmic, just as if I were piecing with my machine, and that's going to help give me beautiful regulated stitches. So we do have some options. The new CM17 actually has a ruler work stitch regulator, which is so awesome. So let's talk about how we can use maybe a little different look right here. We can go ahead and just make some marks right here. I'll go ahead and just use some chalk. This could be another way that we could align. We can use our spacing gauge and we can just create some random divisions in here. And we can use those to line up the template, and then we can add a little bit more detail to the design. So right here, what we can do is we'll set this right on here so that this is touching that, and then we'll sew back to the top. It's not as important here for us to put the arc in any particular place, right? We're just going to go to the center line, and then here we'll line this up right at that 1/4 inch. So again, that spacing gauge gets to be super important. If I am sewing, for example, a triangle or a square, something like that, that's a very precise shape, what I want is I want to close that shape. I don't want it to maybe close or optionally close, you know, look kind of close, but not really. I think we did it like that. No, I guess, there we go. I'm trying to keep these the same. And then line this one up. And we'll just keep going around, getting us right back to that position. You'll see that the foot right here is now lined up exactly at the top. So I love the precision that we're able to get. Now we can line the ruler up on the dot, or we could line it up with the spacing gauge. Either way, if I align the edge of the ruler right here, right on the little cross mark, this foot is going to sew a 1/4 inch away. The difference between the needle space and the foot is always that 1/4 inch. So that's just something for you to kind of keep in mind as you're doing your designs. If you want to get right into that spot, then you need to be a 1/4 inch away. All right, so let's see. We've talked about a couple different tools. We're going to put some little embellishments in this with some of the designs from the rest of the set. Notice how just adding a couple of extra lines really changes that design that was maybe a little bit kind of an awkward shape with that, a lot of space out here. But now that we're segmenting it, it really looks a little bit more finessed. So one thing that rulers is really great for is always being able to add some additional lines. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to come back to this center position right here. And we're going to put a little detail in right in this little space right here. And that'll help fill out some of our design. What do you think so far? Are you liking it? Let's go ahead and take out one more tool that is in this Flower Power set. This will be probably the last one that we'll demo from this set today, just because of time constraints. This is the Mini Spinifex number 4. Two things I like about it. Number 4 is the same template that is in the sampler set, which is Westerly's most popular set ever. From the beginning, it's been our most popular seller. So this can go very well with that piece that's already in that sampler set that a lot of people have and give you additional sizes. This is a very, very small design. You're getting 2 of them and you're still going to sew them the same way. This is that center line. So what I can do right here from the center is I'm just going to use that center and maybe we'll just put a fun little design. We can make our Spinifex start here and go out. So it would be like this with this to the outside, or you might want to put it like this and have this be the part where the foot starts and then a petal going out like that. I'll show you on Anne's what it looks like in terms of the shape. This is the shape of that design. And we've got 2 different sizes of it on this one template. All right, let's see. Let's get ourselves going. I think we'll use the other side. I want to use this bigger one if we can. So because we're already in there, I'm going to go ahead and open up the key, just slide this on and put it on. One thing to check when you're setting it up is just make sure that your grips are down against your fabric. Sometimes people will ask me, well, these should be up or down. They should be against the fabric. They're making the ruler and the fabric stick to each other so that they move as one unit. Okay, so I'm going to set this up. I can set it up just like this, and I'm going to line up the lines right on the reference line, just like we talked about. This one might sew into those arcs a little bit. If I'd sewed it this way, it probably will not. It's just a design decision, but you can use any Spinifex in either direction just like this, and you'll get different results depending on how you use it. I like this little point to go out for this particular design, so I'm going to use it like this. This one's smaller, so you may want to sew just slightly faster. That lets you kind of get through that design a little better. I'm going to tack it right here, just put a few tacking stitches. Then I'm going to pick up my needle, and I'm going to show you how you can move around your design. I'm just going to move this right to the next spot. I'll go ahead and get my needle lined up, and I'm going to hold this top thread. So put my needle right in the point right there, and then pull this slack out of there. Right now, I'm not sewing over any existing stitch lines, right? The pattern that I'm going is going around clockwise or counterclockwise, and that's going to help make sure that this design doesn't stitch over any existing bobbin thread or anything like that. Okay, so again, tack it off a little bit right there, and then pick your needle up, and then we'll just keep on going. There's only 4 of these, so we can get these knocked out pretty quickly. So again, line it up, checking the back, make sure that you're as even as you can be. Now, when you're using templates, in most cases, it doesn't matter if you sew left to right or right to left. Usually that is just a design option for you, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Now, when I'm done with this, before I add any additional elements, I probably will go back and I will cut any threads that are hanging out, right? Because I don't want any loose threads that are going to get sewn in on the back, because the bobbin thread, right, is going to be crisscrossing a little bit. I'll even show it to you. Let me just cut this. Now, I'm going to show you, I don't typically use my scissor button when I'm working because I want to be able to bring that bobbin thread up. And that thread is a little short if I use the scissors. I'm going to take my needle up and raise my foot. And I can take the whole sandwich. I'm going to lengthen the bobbin by about 6 inches and hold on to this top thread here. When I put this right back down, I'm going to needle down and up right where I left off. And then again, I want to raise that presser foot. Right there, that's my bobbin thread right there. So now I can cut it, and because we did all of those extra securing stitches there, that is not going to come out. It's completely tied off. Okay, we'll just cut these so we can release our design. So that's just one way that you can travel throughout your design when you need to. So what do you think? How we're going, right? So I told you we would get a little crossover because this is a little bit wider than this angle. If we had flipped this design and put the skinny end right there, the chances are that it wouldn't cross over, but I don't mind. I think it looks fine. I like it. All right, so let's see. We've shown 3 different templates, and let's show maybe one more. This is also from that Flower Power set. I wanted to show you how we use the inside arc, and we can create a little bit more depth when we're doing our designs with that 6-inch arc. If I align this right along here on the center, we can go ahead and make a little echo in between. So I'm aligning it on the first reference line right here, right? So this is a 1/4 inch, but the spacing will actually be about a 1/2 of an inch difference because the foot is going to add a little more space. So let's make sure we can do it. Get it lined up. And we'll start with the foot right here touching the ruler. This is an example of where I place the ruler first and I let the ruler tell me where does the foot need to go. An additional piece that we can learn, and this part of it, is sometimes we need to free travel a little bit to get ourselves lined up for the next part of the design, and we're going to showcase that here as well. So right there, I'm going to go ahead and just do a few tacking stitches right here in the existing stitch line. I am moving just to secure those threads, and I'm going to sew right over to the other side, and then I'll make my adjustments from there. So I'm right in the stitch line. In order to do this part right here, I need to travel just a little bit on the existing stitch line in order to get aligned. So I'm going to go ahead and travel down just a few stitches right there, and then I'll line up the ruler and let me know if I'm in the right spot or not. So again, we want this pretty much on the center, so I think I need one more stitch in order to get the ruler lined up. So that way I can push this down so there's enough room. Okay, so then we'll sew against this one and we'll put another line in. Oh, excuse me, hairball. No, I don't have any cats. That's my daughter's hair. She's got really long red hair. All right, so then again, free travel allows me to position that template, and since the ruler line is so nice and clean, if I can practice stitching along that, it helps me to make the designs that I want. It gives me the freedom to move around the designs and be more effective. Sometimes when you're using the inside of the curve, it's a little narrower than the outside, so there's always reasons why you might want to use one side or the other. And I like that you have that option in this particular template. I'll give you an example. If I was sewing with this one and I want the curve to go that way, right? I can easily use these reference lines and just keep going that way. But if I wanted to make it go this way, like go backwards, if the curve was here and I wanted to go this way, well then these lines are away. There's a gap in between. Whereas with this one, I've got the inside and the outside. So I can align on this side or I can align on this side. So all of the arcs that we have use this same system. There's a 2-inch, the 3-inch arc, the 4-inch arc is in the sampler set already. This 6-inch arc is in the Flower Power set. And then there's an 8, 12, and a 16-inch arc. Very, very valuable. I especially use the bigger ones when I'm working on my long arm, but absolutely think these are amazing tools. All right, I think we're done, right? Almost. Okay, let's put the last one in and then we'll be done. So we've showcased 3 of the tools that are in this Flower Power set. And of course, there's so much more that can be done. And here I'll just go ahead and stitch right back over so I can have the same over stitching on both sides, plus a little tacky. And then we'll cut that. And then just try to see that my needle's going right down in that same spot. Okay, and then I'll cut that off and we'll kind of show you the whole thing. Kennedy, we're kind of getting close to our hour. We have about 10 more minutes. So let's just do some quick Q&A. And if we have time for another design, we can throw that in as well.
Awesome. Okay, I know some people were asking what kind of tape, you might have mentioned this before, but what kind of tape you were using to keep your rulers together and in place, that little piece for the ruler foot.
The white piece or the Scotch tape? This tape? Or
yeah, that's the stable tape underneath, but to keep that little piece that you take out when you want to get it through the foot.
I just use
regular.
right. Yeah, regular Scotch tape. I like the whiter Scotch tape. I think that the opaque tape lasts a little longer. It's a little sturdier, but then it's not as clear. You can't see through it as well. So some people don't like that. It doesn't really bother me, but I'm just using Scotch tape. Don't use the skinny tape, use the wider tape. And when you put the tape on, you can see this is a pretty wide opaque tape. I usually fold over one corner to make a pull tab. And then just make sure it doesn't interfere with your sewing field. You know, some people, they'll put the tape way out here on this edge like this, and then it's not right at the edge right here. I think the tape needs to come as close to the opening here as it can. You shouldn't have the tape way out here because you don't want this to wiggle, right? If your tape is too far down, then you'll get a little flexing right here when you're sewing around here, and the foot is going to come right there. So we want that stability right here. We don't really care what's happening out there. Okay. All right. Anything else, dear?
I think that's it. I'm not seeing any more questions. If anybody does have any questions, put them in the chat. We can answer for you right now. Anything for Kate, any questions why I was with the rulers, anything like that, feel free to ask. Until then, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple giveaways. So I will be right back, Kate. I will go ahead and set you right there, and we will go ahead and do some giveaways real quick. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and show you guys what we're going to give away today. So we are giving away a sew mat. One of you are going to get a nice brand new sew mat, our world famous. Everybody loves them. I've got one on my desk right now. I use it as a mouse pad. When I had a machine on it, I was using it as a pin cushion. There's so many uses for it. There's so many things you can do. And then we're also going to give away a set of our bags. And if you didn't know, on each of the bags, we have little quotes and sayings that are pretty funny. And we're going to put them on our merch as well. If you didn't know, we do have merch. So the winners of that, I'm going to randomly select someone, okay? All righty. And our winner is Runita White. You are the brand new winner of a sew mat. And you can go onto our website and pick any color that you want. And go ahead and go to smplive.tv. I'll go ahead and put it up on the screen as well. Go ahead and go to smplive.tv and you put your little information in the little form, and we will go ahead and get that giveaway sent out to you. And now our winner of the set of bags, I think they're on this side of me, there we go, is going to be Cindy Ball. Cindy Ball, congratulations, you just won a set of bags. Once again, just both of you guys go to smplive.tv and put your info in there, and we will get that info and we will get that giveaway sent out to you. All righty. Did anybody have any questions while we still have Kate here? Any questions? Let's bring her back real quick.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking through the chat, and I do see somebody said, what tape is she using to prevent the rulers from slipping? And we kind of mentioned that, but I'm going to pull it up really quick. Sew Steady is providing stable tape. When you purchase the ruler sets, you're going to get some of this in the Westerly products. I believe it's also in our Donna McCauley and in the Sew Biz rulers as well. Those are some of our other designers. And people will say, oh, it looks like shelf liner. Well, guess what? It isn't. It is acrylic safe adhesive. It's really easy to use. You can remove it. It's not going to etch the template. That's really important. You can tell that mine are used a good bit. When they stop having this nice bumpy texture, you'll be able to just pull them off and put a new piece on. I'll just pull this one off because he's kind of flat. What you'll see is they're going to come off really easily. There's no residue on there. There's going to be dirt around where it was, but as far as the glue just comes right off, right? So when this starts pulling apart, when it becomes like two pieces, because the adhesive is like a little sheet, then you'll know it's time to replace that. If it's flat or if the pieces fall apart and they're not sticking well, okay? So when you're using it, you're just going to cut off about a 1/4 of an inch piece or 1/2 inch piece. Let me grab my scissors. And then you can just put it on there to give you the right size, like this. This is about the size you need. And again, we said putting it where your fingers are going to be holding on that ruler. So just going to remove that adhesive. This is safe for acrylic. I used some other tape sometime a long time ago when I was first starting out, and it had scrape underneath it, like a chemical reaction, and it hurt my template. So ours are not going to do that. They're definitely safe for your acrylics. And again, we said putting them on the back in most cases. This is the front, and these lines are etched in the back. If I use the template upside down, I'm just going to show you real quick. This is the right side, and when the light shines, and this is right against the fabric, the lines are perfectly clear. If I flip the lines over like this, note that you're going to get some shadowing. You can really see it right there. That's because the lines are up above and there is a gap. You can use these rulers upside down. There's no rule about that, but then you need to be more careful when you're aligning. So for example, some templates like the heart template require you to flip the ruler side to side like this. And then one side's just a little easier to line up. So that's knowledge is power, right? We want you to know that. All right, let's see. I think, was that the last? Somebody asked about stitch regulating, making your stitches pretty, and practice. Okay, yes, practice matters, of course, right? But you can do a few things really quickly that will make this better. I want you to put your piecing foot on, and I want you to set your speed with your dial, your speed dial, for the correct speed that you're comfortable sewing at. Then I want you to put your ruler foot on and leave that the same speed. And I want you to press your gas all the way down, right? And then if your stitches are big, make your machine go just a little bit faster. And if your machine is sewing tiny stitches close together, make it go just a little bit slower. But finding that piecing speed, that's a rhythm that if you've sewn even for 6 months, you already have that in your brain. Your body already can feel that rhythm, and it already knows how fast to move your fabric. So I think there's a few things that you can do really quickly to help you get a more effective stitch. And then it's very important that you have a good setup. You need a good chair. I saw they were talking about the hydraulic chairs yesterday. The chairs are really important. You should be above your project looking down. If you have little T-Rex arms like this, you can't put the correct pressure on your sandwich. So you need to be up above your project and not below it. And then being able to just be comfortable, put your shoulders down. It's just like anything. It's like a sport, right? The first time you do it, don't sew for 10 hours or 5 hours like us quilters do, right? Take some breaks. Sew for 20 minutes, go walk around, rest your eyes, do something else, come back to it. Those couple of tips can really make a big difference to helping you. And if you just can't get there and have those beautiful stitch regulation, Janomi's new CM17 is a stitch regulated machine. It has that option for regulating your ruler work or any free motion stitching, and it is really, really effective and works beautifully. So, okay, anything else, Kennedy? Did you see anything else that came in?
I can't think of anything. I was looking through the comments. Everyone's just excited to watch you. So, and I was too. I felt like I learned so much just in the time and just in the hour of you being here. So, thank you so much for coming on and taking over SMP's Tuesday today. So, I had so much fun, and thank you so much for coming on again. Oh, she's there. can't hear you. Uh-oh. Well, that was Kate for you. I don't know what happened with her sound, but I will go ahead and get her on here, and let's just do this. Thank you guys so much for coming on and joining us today. I had so much fun. I feel like we all were learning something new together today. And congrats to all the prize winners. I'm so excited. And make sure you guys tune in on Thursday for SMP Live. We've got a great show for you there, and you get to see Blaine. I'm sure you guys all probably miss him after Hoop Fest. But other than that, we will see you guys so soon, and make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube and on our Facebook and Instagram so you guys never miss another event from us. And we will see you guys later. Alrighty, you guys have a great Tuesday, okay? Have a good one. Bye. Kyle said bye, you guys.